Alright, welcome guys to Elder Brew House. This deck tech is just going to be me, icmike. We will be going over one of my decks here. I actually have two versions of this deck. The first one we're doing right here is Kotis, the Fang Keeper, built around enchantments. Kind of an enchantress themed deck here to get around the light enchantment hate that is in the cEDH meta currently. With my other version also being a +1/+1 and a little bit more artifact heavy. It is faster, but has that weakness of artifact hate that is quite prevalent right now in the meta. Alright, so Kotis the Fang Keeper, he is an indestructible 2/1, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you exile the top X cards from their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any of those spells where the mana value is less than the damage that you did to the opponent without paying their mana cost. So the whole point of the deck is to get him as big as possible and make sure he can get through and get hits. A few of the ways we get through that is with Oko to shut off problem commanders or problem blockers to slow down combos while you set yourself up. Other big cards to go for with creatures: Gonti and Rev. Rev giving it Death Touch, a lot less likely somebody's going to block, and they'll just let you get through. Both Gonti and Rev, the reason you want to have one of those out going through and getting damage in, you'll be generating value by exiling an extra card off the top of theirs, and you may, with Rev, you get a treasure as well, and you can cast that card as long as it remains exiled. Gonti, on the other hand, generates treasure tokens for each spell that you cast that you don't own. So Kotis cards, as well as the ones that are exiled by him or Rev, will trigger him as well and get you some extra treasures to help ramp you into late game, which shouldn't be that late, as this is more of a early to mid-range deck. Other notes for winning, obviously good old Thassa's combo, and ways that we're going to guarantee that we get through: Damnation, good old-fashioned board wipe, with your commander being indestructible, really helps with getting through on no matter what board you're going against, as well as multiple removal spells. Here in your instance, you have the Abrupt Decay. Arched Druids can be used as a removal if your commander is big enough. You can choose a second one to do a removal. Bitter Triumph, Cut Down, Fatal Push, Dismember, Long Goodbye. All are ways to get rid of things that could be blocking you, especially smaller creatures that are just chumping you instead of them blocking with like a bigger creature or commander. Long Goodbye, Cut Down, and Fatal Push are also great ways of stopping other people who have commander-centric decks from going off with them. They're cheap 1 mana, 2 mana kill spells that remove things such as Kinnan, Thrasios, and kind of slow them down while you're able to then smack them and try to steal their combo away from them, stopping them in their tracks. Now, ways to get around creatures that are still there. We do have Leyline Axe to try to get that early equipment out, just like the rest of the Leylines. Opening hand, it gives you a nice advantage of already coming out for free. Big ones to go for too are Dragonfire Blade and Shadow Spear, depending on what you need. Those are also searchable targets for Urza's Saga that we will go into later. The meat of the deck though here is our enchantments. All of the enchantments are there for value, if nothing else. Definitely with getting in extra damage, as well as kind of buffing each other. We have 2 land enchantments here to increase our mana production, but also buff spells such as Ancestral Mask, with giving you that extra +2/+2 for each enchantment. So for 3 mana, just having those 2 and Ancestral, you're getting +6/+6 onto your commander for 3 mana. Very efficient way of getting that mana in there. Another 3 mana one that gets you in there pretty quickly. And a Sanctuary. Since you're putting it out, your commander is black and blue, so it immediately gives it that +5/+5 until end of turn. But this does require you to have your upkeep for it to go active, so it won't be active on the turn it is played. Ways to guarantee getting through as well: we have Aqueous Form, Favor of the Overbeing to give you that flying and vigilance. Canopy Cover makes it so they can't be blocked except by flying or reach, essentially giving it flying without the flying keyword. Also gives it hexproof, which is good for protection of your commander from things such as path and swords. And the biggest one, it is a little bit more expensive to get out there, but Gift of the Deity gives you that +1/+1 for being black, gives it death touch, but since it's also a green creature, it gives it another +1/+1, and it forces everybody to block. By doing so, you can give that damage out one at a time to each of their creatures that is forced to block, wiping out their board. If you have trample, anything extra will go right on over it. Ways to get these things out a little bit cheaper, we do have Strong Back in here. Does the same thing as Ancestral Mask, where it's given us +2/+2 for each of the auras and the enchantments, but it also reduces the costs of our equip abilities for our equipment, but also reduces it by 3 for our aura spells. So once we have that out, that Ancestral Mask's now a 1 mana do a lot. Same with Nerd Rage, Gift, Favor of the Overbeing, and even Demonic Embrace. Reducing that cost down to make this a little bit easier to get these things out. We do run a little bit light on the lands, since we do have our enchantments, our Moxes, and Soul Ring to kind of curve us out. We are going to be hitting people and stealing a bunch of value from them. Though you're not going to be stealing lands from them, hitting a Kinnan player or anyone that runs a lot of mana rocks, you're going to be stealing a lot of those mana rocks, getting them out quick, and you will be far ramping past most players. Synergies with the commander here, we do also have Ancient Cellar Spawn, Entity Tracker, Sanctum Weaver, Argothian, Nylea's Colossus, and Springheart Nantuko. And Composer of Spring to cheat out some of those bigger creatures, such as Nylea's Colossus. So with these, the big things you want to get out are the Ancient Cellar Spawn. So when you're casting each of those spells for free, you're dealing damage to somebody, whether it's all to one person or to lower, like for an Adnaz player or Necropotent, you can target them with it, even though you're casting it from maybe somebody else's deck to reduce their health. Springheart Nantuko is great for being able to bestow it onto one of our enchantment creatures, such as Sanctum Weaver or Ancient, get multiple copies with our landfalls, but those also will be triggering our Generous Visitor and Entity Tracker to help us draw through our deck, as well as make our commander bigger, so we're just hitting harder, which just expedites our game plan here. Nylea's is great as well for whenever with Nantuko, because if you're able to sit there and make copies of enchantments, especially Nylea's, you're able to make your commander lethal within 1 or 2 landfalls. 1 landfall, now you have 2 Nylea's, which are doubling him twice, and then you do it again with fetches or anything, and you can quickly become a problem, especially if you're unblockable, just taking out a player outright. Big thing too is we're not running any Adnaz, Necropotents to dig through our deck, because we are going to be a problem from the moment our commander hits the field, unless somebody has a quick way to either counter our commander as it's coming out or exile it right off the bat. We're just going to keep generating steam and just kind of steamroll over everything that's in front of us with the packages that we do have. So we don't really need those to hurt our health pool, because people are going to want to swing into us, because unless our commander has vigilance, which some of our stuff does give, it is going to be very open for people to be swinging into us to try to lower, just to kill us outright. So with this, we're expecting to last into mid game with a perfect start, getting your commander out turn 1, turn 2. You could possibly get into killing somebody outright that following turn if you have the right hands. Outside of the Thassa's Oracle combo though, you're not going to be winning turn 2, turn 3. This is a little bit of a slower deck, but it is more resilient for the mid-range L that we are in, to kind of hold on while everybody else is trying to turbo out and run out. You're building up into a position where they can't really stop you while you proceed to smack them in the face for these, trying to either steal their combo and win on the spot from the attack triggers, or eventually you'll get your Thassa's Oracle combo in. Other things to help protect your commander, we do have obviously counterspell packages of the forces, counterspell, daze, mana leak, memory lapse, to put those cards back on top for you to then smack them and steal it from them. We do have a couple phasing for the commander, since with how phasing works, it removes the commander or any other creatures, as well as any equipment or auras that are attached to them. By doing so, if they try to remove the one problem enchantment that you have on there and you phase out your creature, as in this deck with the commander, you're removing not only him, but all of the equipment and all of the enchantments from the field until your following turns so that they can't remove them. It makes it extremely sticky. You don't have to worry about them unattaching or anything like that. We have Change of Plans, March of the Swirling Mist, and Slip Out the Back to do that for us. As well as we have Heroic Intervention just to give us the hex proof. With that, we'll go into some Goldfish hands. So with this opening, we have a bunch of lands, not really much to do. I would not keep this as we don't have any fast mana or any way to quickly expedite our commander. Alright, so here we go for another 7. With this second 7, it is keepable. I would probably go down to 6 to try to get this a little bit farther, since we only have our 2 lands here, with one being Dryad Arbor and the other Watery Grave. We don't really have anything to play for turn 1 or 2, outside of possible draws, other than holding up a Memory Lapse to slow somebody down. Here we got another one. This one's a little bit more playable. This would be one I'd probably keep, since we can get that Sylvan Library out pretty quickly. I would definitely start it. If I was to keep this hand, I would start with that Bayou and immediately Wild Growth it. For turn, with that draw being a force, it's great to have the double counters here. We don't have the island to make the days free, so we can always pitch that to the force if needed. So we'll go to our next turn there. So here we have the Bayou and the Wild Growth together. We have access to Abrupt Decay on one land. So we have that in case there's any issues that immediately come up, such as turn 1 Rhystic Study or an Esper if we just need to get rid of it. So we'll throw out that Willow Rush Verge. That gives us access to blue as well, and since we have a forest in the Bayou, it is access for both the blue and green. Right here, I would probably go here, tap, get that Sylvan Library out as quickly as possible. But with having that and knowing we have this Generous Visitor, I would definitely play that first just to make him a little bit bigger by tapping that Willow Rush, giving him a counter. And now we have that Sylvan Library for our next turn. So here's going into turn 3, so we will draw our 3 cards for Sylvan. We have a Rhystic Study here with access. We already have mana to cast that Rhystic Study right off the bat with the Force of Negation to follow it up. Or we could go with Vesuvian Diplomacy here, so that whenever you're casting a spell that targets only a single artifact creature, you're making copies. We could use that by having it here, and we could start duplicating either lands or whatever we might target, such as something with like Slip Out the Back. I would probably just take the 4 damage, putting Vesuvian back on top. That way we still have our land and Rhystic Study. Playing that Windswept, we'd crack it. Go and get our 3rd color here. And probably go for the commander just to get it out. That way, as we're playing our enchantments, we're already making it bigger. Grab a tropical island, as we already have the Bayou out. Have both of our green lands here. And with that, I would tap out and play our commander here. With this already being out, we could always swing for 2 if nobody has blockers. If not, just keep it up. Going to next turn, we have our Sylvan Library, draw our 3. So we have Change of Plans, Deathrite, and Brotherhood. With getting that Brotherhood there, I definitely want to keep that in hand with 4 mana out. I want to be able to do that. That right there is going to take up 3 of our mana. Here, I would probably keep the Deathrite, since we don't have the mana for Change of the Plans after our play. We'll stick that back on top, pay our 4. So with that, we'll go here, tap, play that Brotherhood Regalia. If it resolves, we'll pay the 1 to equip it, putting that onto Kotis. Once we have that on Kotis, now it has Ward 2 and it can't be blocked. Alright, and then with that final one, we can play that Deathrite just to have that extra mana available, or we can hold up the 1 here for the Slip Out the Back. If people have been playing a lot of interaction, I would throw out the Deathrite right away. If people haven't, with that Ward 2, I feel a little bit more comfortable not keeping up the mana for the Slip Out the Back, since it gives us an extra blue, or if we need to force. So that way we can use days on our Trop Island if needed. So depending on what we get here, this is only going to hit for 2, though it is unblockable. We're only going to get 2 cards. If one of them's 2 or less, cool, we got extra cards. We're not doing super fast here, but we have plenty of interaction to stop somebody from getting a win here. So we're going to get our next draws here. Again, another counter spell we're digging through all these answers. Since we have Slip Out the Back, we don't need the Change of Plans. If we still have the Abrupt Decay, we might want the Dismember, but I don't really need to have both forces here in my hand right now, so I'll probably just keep the Dismember, putting both of the other two on back on top, so we're not taking a bunch of damage here. So with this, we don't have any extra lands to play, so we're going to go through. We have Deathrite and a Windswept in Graveyard. So we can tap to float that color we need, and then we'll tap it. We'll get it for blue, and then we'll get that Rhystic Study out. With Rhystic Study coming out, you have the Generous coming in and giving us a +1/+1 on our commander. So now we're at 3, which is getting us a little bit farther in, as well as giving us more card draw, so we don't have to rely on the Sylvan Library. Again, handful of interaction. We're sitting pretty, and now with swinging for 3, we're getting a little bit more value from these people. And from here, you're kind of able to interact with people winning, because by turn 5, most people are trying to attempt to win. We'll go into another one to see if we can get something a little bit faster. All right. So here's a new 7. With this one, it's not too bad. We have our 3 lands here with a Vamp Tutor. So we could always go through Vamp Tutor for something to expedite us, and that with having Orcish out, it's not a bad hand. But I wouldn't keep this as a first or second 7. If this was a 6, I'd possibly keep it, getting rid of the Vesuvan. And here we got one that's going to be a lot faster here. So we have 3 lands here and a City of Traders. So quickly we can easily get turn 1, get something out. We'll keep it. Let's say we keep this hand as a 7. Turn 1, draw that Arcane Signet. Right here, I would probably put out the city to get that arcane out nice and quick, just so we have that mana available on our next turn. Going into turn 2, we have this here. When we go to play that land, we're probably going to want to get, since we don't have enough mana to get our commander out, we're going to get this Mana Sanctuary out nice and quick. So we're going to tap that city, play the Misty, crack in that Misty, go get Bayou, and then tap it to cast that Mana Sanctuary. So that way, once we have our commander out, we're already getting ready and set to go. All right, so this will sack. We'll go get that Bayou. We'll go to our turn. Here we got that Chrome Mox, which is great because we have a bunch of blue cards here, so we can always imprint one of these here. We want to keep that Aqueous Form to give our commander that unblockable. Out of these, I'd probably pitch the Nerd Rage. From that prior hand, if we had got Nerd Rage, we could have quickly won the game with all of our draw engines. Quickly get up to that 10 cards in hand or more in hand, giving it that +10/+10. So we'll do that Chrome Mox here. Pitch the Nerd Rage to it, so that it'll tap for blue. Play our Underground. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Cast our commander here. Hopefully we don't get countered, and if we don't, we're good to go to our next turn. All right. So this is turn 4 where we're going to start swinging out. With Aqueous Form in hand, we're going to start off immediately with that after our upkeep trigger, giving our commander +5/+5. I'm going to go. We'll tap the Chrome Mox for the blue, give that Aqueous Form to Kotis, which currently right now is +5/+5. So we have a 7/6 unblockable where when it attacks, we're going to scry. So this is great. So we have our 3 mana available. If we need to mana leak or kill spell or our Orcish, we have that ability to answer anything that might get in the way of if somebody tries to kill him. We have that mana leak available to possibly counter that spell that they're doing, or if they try to do some shenanigans, you always can Orcish and do a wheel or Bitter Triumph to get rid of anything that might be a problem. But with swinging out for 7 on turn 4, getting 7 cards over the top, more than likely you're going to be able to cast every single spell that's pulled off the top outside of the lands. You're going to have a massive board here of whatever you might hit. Alright. So going into our next turn, we have Thassa's now in hand. We're looking to get a Demonic. If we can get a Demonic or a Tainted Pact off of one of the other players, we can immediately go into Thassa's and win on the spot. While we still have that counter spell here, as well as if they maybe have some counter spells as well that we hit off of Kotis, we're definitely going to be going to get that hit. And if we didn't win there or get anything off of it for the Thassos, we'll just sit there and hold on to it with open mana for our interaction. Here we got a nice just simple bop. Go through, gets us a little bit more mana, gives us a little bit. Again, we're still hitting for 6. We're scrying every time we swing. Like right now we're on attack. I see that I have that gemstone. Don't really care if that's on top. I'll probably stick that to the bottom. Just so that when we go to our draw next turn, we might get something a little bit better. We got another land, not really helping us. We'll play it, just thin out our deck a little bit more. With that Marsh Flats, crack it. We'll go get Watery Grave probably, since we do need that double blue just in case. So having more blue available is always great. We'll lose that 3 total there. Again, we're just kind of waiting for an answer or some way to combo off with that Thassos. Withdrawing that Mystical here on our next turn, we can go and Mystical Tutor for the Tainted Pact on end step, or if we swing and we get something that'll allow us to draw a Mystical Tutor on that, grab the Tainted Pact off of it. We have our mana here, Thassos, and one here, and one here. So that Mystical Tutor will be right here off that Chrome Mox, and we can go for a win there, and still having Birds and Arcane Signet open for the mana leak if need be, to try to protect it. Yeah, this is going into turn 8. Again, we had the interaction early on to be able to try to slow people down and get them so where we're going into that turn 8. This isn't a turbo. We're not trying to win quickly. We're trying to set up and be resilient to steal their wins instead. All right, so we got another one here. This isn't a bad hand to keep since we have that Dark Ritual in hand. Bop with 3 lands to back it up. I don't know if I would keep this as a first 7, maybe a second 7. I would definitely keep this as a 6. For the fact that we can turn 1 Windswept into the bop with grabbing a Bayou from that. And then turn 2 we're able to Dark Ritual into Rev. Or we can play, we'll just play it out here. We'll turn 1, grab that Bayou, get in that Bayou, play the bop. Nice good turn 1. Alright, go into our second turn here. We already have that 2 mana. We'll play out a Willow Rush Verge. Again, taps for that double color, so we have 3 mana here. With doing this, tap that Bayou for black. This is turn 2 for our commander here with Dark Ritual, giving us our 3 black. And then we can do blue and green, which gives us enough to cast our commander. With 1 black floating, we don't really have anything to do with that black floating, so we'll just let it fizzle. But we do have our turn 2 commander, and we'll go into our next turn. So here we have an interesting thing with drawing Oko. We have the choice here of we can either, we'll play a land regardless here, so we'll do our Cascade. And then we have a choice here of either going into Oko to possibly remove somebody's commander that they've already played, such as Kinnan or Thrasios, so that they have a little bit more of a tough time comboing off. If nobody's really played anything because people are a little bit slower, I would go into Rev here. Reason being is it gives your commander that death touch, and when you do that combat damage, you're getting another treasure token, which is ramping us, as well as exiling 1 extra card off the top of the thing, separate from the Kotis trigger. We'll go with this assumption that nobody has really done much. We'll play that Rev, and then we're able to go into combat, swing for that 2, getting 3 cards off the top. 2 off of Kotis, though, remember that it does have to be that 2 mana or less. But with that, we're getting our treasures, so now we have a treasure out. So we do have 1 mana available, which doesn't really help us with anything in hand. So here we go with Ancestral Mask. We don't have any enchantments yet, but with that treasure, we can definitely start going forward here. We have 5 total mana, so we can either throw out this Entity Tracker and have it so once we start playing our enchantments, such as the Ancestral Mask, we're going to start making him bigger. Just with that enchantment alone, it's going to give him +2/+2. But the fact that we don't have, oh, we do have a land. We'll play that land. Now we have enough for both. We'll do that entity tracker here. If it's good, they're probably not going to counter it because they're like, oh, he's just going to draw you a card. And we'll crack that treasure, play that ancestral, putting it on him. If we're good here, now we have a 4/3 indestructible commander here, as well as we're drawing a card from that. So we'll go to combat here. We got 4. We're going to swing out, getting ourselves another treasure, as well as 1 extra card, though we only have the 1 mana to cast it if that 1 extra card is something worth casting. All right, going into turn 5 here, got another land. I'd probably tap here to get Argothian Enchantress out, just so that way if we're casting another enchantment spell, we're drawing a card as well as the ETB. So we'll be drawing 2 cards if an enchantment resolves here. With that, we do have 4 mana still available. I would probably just put Oko out, actually 5 with that treasure. Put Oko out, and we can always start turning these treasures into 3/3s to start putting pressure on people, or just again remove somebody's commander. If there's no commanders here, I'd probably just create the food token. That way I can always swap with somebody else's artifact, possibly for a treasure or something that's not very valuable that I might have stolen from them. Again, we're here turn 6. We've stolen a bunch of cards by this point, whether we've cast them or not. It's really hard to show the value you may or may not get, as it is random what you're getting from other people. But we have that change to protect ourselves. We have a bunch of treasure manufacturing from our rev here. Oko to kind of remove some threats, slow other people's game plans down. We'll just do draw 5 for the next 5, just to show that we can kind of draw through and get pretty good here. Big ones you really want to get is that Dragonfire Blade. It essentially makes him impossible to get rid of outside of Toxic Deluges or anything that might get rid of indestructibles such as a Shadow Spear, which you don't see too often. The nice thing though about getting that Dragonfire out is you put it out for 1 mana, and because he is 3 mana, it turns that equip cost into 1. So for 2 mana, you can play it, equip it, giving it +2/+2, and hexproof monocolored. Most people are playing counter spells, or not counter spells, kill spells that are singular colored. Not a lot of people are playing the dual color kill spells because it's just so hard sometimes to get the mana fixing to make those consistently viable. But yeah, with that, we'll wrap it up here and do a final hand where we're going to hand pick it to show that perfect hand, which actually this one I would consider. This is one I would 100% consider as a keeping on open 7. We have fast mana with the Mox Diamond if we can get that second land on the draw. If not, we can always play it, getting rid of the Scalding Tarn, but with Nantucko in our hand, I kind of want to keep that Scalding Tarn. But with opening, I will keep this Leyline as opening. Here we go, we got a Flooded Strand, which is great. Now we have 2 lands. So we can we'll do Scalding Tarn, we'll go grab a Trop Island, and then we'll play the Mox Diamond into pitching the Flooded Strand. And then right here, we can tap that Mox Diamond to put Utopia Sprawl onto the Trop Island, giving us access to another color. We'll give it access to black. That way now this is a Triome. With that, we can tap that for another 2, and we'll get out that Brotherhood Regalia right off the bat. That is great turn 1 there. Turn 2, look, we already got a Thassa's out. With that 3 mana available though, we can do that here. We'll tap for the 3, get that Ancient Solar Spawn out. So we tap for black, another color, and then black from the Mox Diamond. We have Ancient Solar Spawn out on turn 2. I wouldn't waste any time trying to worry about equipping it, but since we have that Nantucko, we're definitely in a place where we could start duplicating it for when we have our commander out. Going into turn 3 here, we will be tapping that Trop Island to bestow this onto that Ancient Solar Spawn. So now we have it on that landfall. Whenever a land enters, we can pay 1 and a green. If Nantucko is attached to a creature you control, you create a copy of that creature. If you don't, and you don't pay, you get a 1/1 insect. So we have 1 mana here, and we have a command tower. So when we go to play that command tower on the landfall ETB here, we can tap 2 and make a copy Ancient Solar Spawn. So now we have 2 3/3s, which is already a problem. But once we have our commander out on our next turn here, we have 2 of them that will be pinging. Go into our next turn, we have that counter spell, which is nice. But we're just going to go in, play our commander, tapping out, probably just keep up for some blockers, and we'll go to our next turn. Without getting that another spell here, we're just gonna go straight into attacks, start getting our value here. We are on turn 5, so we're not able to get this out quickly, but we're in a strong position with those double cellar spawns as well as being able to multiply them. So for each time we cast this free spell from Kotis, we're doing some serious damage to people. And we'll call it here, draw our 5, just to show where we can go from here. 5. Alright. So right here, change of plans gives us our phase out. We still have counter spells here. The Suvin is okay here because we're able to then do more duplicates of the ancient cellar spawns if we do target it with anything. But we got this and a sanctuary to get in there, but with having these out, we can go pay the 1 to Brotherhood Regalia. We're not being blocked. And then Leyline gives us that +1/+1 double strike and trample. So we're the fact that they can't block from the Brotherhood, this just gives us double strike now. Without any pluses here, such as the Anna Sanctuary, we're already hitting for 3 unblockable twice. So that gives us a total of 6, but it is 2 triggers, each one being 3. With Anna Sanctuary now, that becomes quickly a +5/+5 onto that 3, giving us a total of 8 double strike, which is 16 commander damage real quick, unblockable. And the chances of you not being able to cast any of or all of the spells with those double ancient cellar spawns is pretty rough. With that other land, we were able to also possibly generate a 3rd one if we didn't tap out. Alright. What we want though as a perfect hand here, at the very least, 2 lands or a lot of our rocks here, with possibilities being Ancient Tomb or a City of Traders. Either one, we don't want both, or a gemstone in your opening hand not being first. Give us that 1 extra mana here. If we have either the double manas, we would love to have an Arcane Signet, as anybody would, or a Soul Ring. We want that ley line. If we can get both of these in our opening hand in a opening 7, we're in a strong position. But opening, we definitely want to have our Moxes. Try and get this thing out as quickly as possible. If we can get both Moxes, let's say we don't have that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we had this as a perfect opening 7, I would 100% be playing this out. Because the chances of us getting, especially if we're not first, we would have opening, gemstone, and leyline. With 4 behind it, the gemstone, we would be pitching our polluted delta here to the gemstone, as it'll already be our land. Going in, we have a Vamp Tutor that we're able to cast. We would do Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, to pitch the Vampiric Tutor. I would rather not do this, but with the Ancient Tomb, we're also able to Arcane Signet. So we could wait, play that Chrome Mox, keeping the Vamp Tutor and Mox in hand. Tap the Ancient. We have Arcane Signet, which gives us another 2 mana here. We can Vamp Tutor out. But the way I would probably want to play this here is, alright, so I would say our perfect 7 would be right here. This is the starting of a perfect 7. Opening with Ancient Tomb or City of Traders for the double colorless, with a Gemstone Cavern, Polluted Delta, Arcane, Mox Diamond, or Mox Opal. With this opening hand, I would probably say Mox Opal would be better, solely for the fact of you have your 3 that will be coming out. So we would go in Ancient Tomb into the Arcane while having that Gemstone with the Polluted pitched to the Gemstone. If we were not turn 1, we were turn 1, we wouldn't need the Gemstone necessarily, and we would pitch it to the Mox Diamond. We'd have that there. With our first draw, with a Wash Away, I would probably keep that in the opening hand without the Chrome Mox. Without casting the Chrome Mox, and then just tap the Gemstone to get that Dragonfire Blade out, while having both a Wash Away and Mox Diamond in hand. That way we have 1 mana open, but right here we have 2, 3, 4 already for our turn 2. Going into turn 2, we have a Fatal Push here, so I would definitely do the Chrome Mox with the Fatal Push behind it. That way we can save our mana here if need be. But we can do here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, having that 1 extra. Play Kotis. Kotis resolves, you still have that 1 extra mana to equip the Dragonfire Blade, and immediately on turn 2 you have a 4/3 indestructible hexproof commander to just start swinging out quickly. Going into turn 3. Right here we have a Misty. We have the choice here. We can either pitch it to the Mox or we can just fetch it. I would probably just pitch it to the mocks, just so that way we have all our colors instead of just the 2. We have mana open for wash away and just start swinging out and generating our value that way. So again, to reiterate, you want anything that's going to generate you quick value. Composer is another one we would love to have in our opening hand outside of mana dorks, just to expedite our game plan. Plenty of interaction you want to hold up. If you can get any interaction that's cheap or free in your opening hand, you're in a good place to slow people down. Yeah, and with that, I'd like to call it a day here and ask that you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, keep your brews strong, your plays sharper, and your games legendary. As always, may your decks be aged to perfection.